Greetings, this is Star Illumination. It is Friday, 13th of October 2023. This video is part of a mini-series regarding the Libra new moon solar eclipse happening tomorrow, I believe. The 14th. And it will be visible for some folks. If you live in Oregon, in the United States, if you live in Oregon, Nevada, parts of Utah, parts of Arizona, parts of Texas, you might be able to see it. You have to go outside. I think it's happening roughly in the middle of the day. So that would be, as good as it gets. Depends, of course, on the clouds and the weather. But here's like an image of a solar new moon eclipse right there. So think about why do they call it an eclipse? Well, because an eclipse is when something is eclipsed out of your life, out of your sight, out of your world, out of your situation. In this situation with the sun and the moon, and what we observe from here, the moon is just traveling along, doing its thing. It's orbiting the earth. The earth is orbiting the sun, and they have very specific orbits, which in this case just happen to line up so perfectly. It's almost freakish. And the same thing with the size of the moon, the physical size of the moon, and how it relates to the physical size of the sun over a certain distance, where it just so happens that the physical size of the moon can block out the exact size of what appears to us to be the sun at the same time. So hence what they call an annular eclipse. So when it's really perfect and you're in the right place, it looks just like this. I've been very lucky. I've seen eclipses like this. It's really, it's quite profound. It really, you just sit there in awe. There's nothing you can do except look and kind of go. So that's what it's like. Anyway, when the moon is doing its transit and it's coming over here, there's the sunlight doing its thing, and then woof, the moon comes over, and at this point, this exact point, I think it lasts about 3 or 4 minutes. It looks like the sun has been eclipsed. Eclipsed out of the sky. It's very, very spooky feeling. It really, really is as spooky as they tell you in mythology. Anyway, and then you move on. 10 minutes later, it's like it never happened. But ancient times and modern times, they hold great significance with eclipses. So let's drill down. Where does it affect you, dear Aquarians? This one is for you. I should have said that earlier. This is part of the mini-series. And the eclipse also lines up with the nodal axis, the Libra South Node, the Libra new moon eclipse. So when you add all that together, it's like we're looking at relationships, redundancy in relationships. Do you feel that certain relationships or relationship dynamics between yourself and something else are being removed, or have you outgrown, or are you so comfortable with certain relationship dynamics that you really don't want to change or move, and yet you feel this sort of deep pressure to move anyway, almost as though the rug is being pulled out from you, either very rudely or very gently. Either way, the thing about eclipses, the way I feel, is that it's an evolutionary gateway where you're living your life and you enter this eclipse moment. It's like getting in a two-sided double-doored elevator, and then you go in one side and you go up, and then you come out the other side and you think, whoa, what just happened? And you can't go back. So evolution, it's evolve to survive, or more rudely, adapt or die. So we are forced to grow by external influences. So the eclipses are well known for this. So for you at Aquarius, let's have a look. What does that look like for you? Here's my astrodoodle for the Aquarians. Let's have a close-up. So we're talking about the Libra new moon eclipse, solar eclipse, because the sun is being eclipsed by the moon. It's for Aquarians, so it's happening in your 9th house. So we got new starts, new beginnings, which typically means a removal of old, well, that is redundant. There's the Libra South Node. That's where the solar new moon eclipse is happening. Okay, so let's look at some key words, okay, for the Aquarians. We're talking about higher knowledge, the thirst for higher knowledge, ever-increasing desire for more wisdom. That might show up as a form of self-teaching or outsourced advanced education. It's also about teaching, but also very much about learning. This also comes with long-distance travel, the big adventurous type of approach to life and learning. You know, life is the best teacher. Traveling is one of the most effective forms of education. Adventure, deliberately throwing yourself into the unknown to discover things about yourself that you could not know otherwise. And of course, it takes a lot of optimism to do that. The 9th house, think of it as Sagittarius, ruled by Jupiter. Natural optimism. Everything's great. It's always going to be great. It's going to get better. No worries. The voyages of discovery. Think of that as very much a Jupiter theme. And then with all that knowledge and information, we're talking about publishing, the distribution, worldwide distribution of that publishing information. Do you remember when Pluto entered Sagittarius? God, when is it, like a couple decades ago? And Pluto was in Sagittarius up here, entering the 9th house. There was a massive explosion in publishing, things like many more book writers and very early days of the internet and publishing stuff online. And then we have mainstream media, the big mainstream media, and alternative media, like independent journalists and things like that. International ventures, like exploring, 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue, and so on. And for things to work properly with all this learning, where they realize you've got to have some kind of structure, so the subject of laws, culture, and religions becomes very, very important as well. These are all like really dumbed down, simplified keywords associated with the 9th house. Of course, there's questions about all of it. Where is this all falling apart? So here's just one example for you Aquarians. Maybe you just absolutely love the never-ending adventure of being almost like a perpetual student, where, okay, I've got my college, blah, blah. I got my, I need a degree now. I need to do more stuff. It's so much fun. I'm learning more and more and more. I want an advanced degree. Oh, now I want a master's. Oh, now I want a PhD. Oh, now I want a doctorship. Doctorate, whatever it's called. And so you end up as like the perpetual academic. And that's great for soaking up all that knowledge and stuff, but what are you going to do with it? So you have all these relationships with with learning and teaching at higher levels, and that's great for you and your relationships with all those sources and everything, but the idea is it's kind of redundant. You've already learned everything you need to know in some ways. And there's only so far you can go. So what about doing something useful to it? Maybe instead of being the student, you become the teacher. Dun, da, da, da. You've heard that expression where the student becomes the teacher. So maybe it's time to take all your vast knowledge and wisdom and experience through all these default settings here. Fun, adventure, learning, travel, discovery, creation of laws, culture, and religions to put some order to it all. And then how do you dumb it down into ways that are understandable to just the person in the street corner, the next person at a bus stop or at a cafe or the grocery checkout line or at a gathering with friends? How do you dumb all this down so you're not constantly swimming in these relationships, which are effectively, it's not over, but you've been there, done that. You don't have to prove anything to yourself or anybody anymore. It's more like, well, what can I do now? How can I take up a leadership position, Aries North Node, in the 3rd house? 3rd house of localized communication. In other words, like being a local teacher, having personal clients or something who look up to you for your wisdom and knowledge, so that you can live and lead by example by communicating everything that you know in a way that's, let's just say it rudely, dumbed down for the rest of us to understand. Okay? But for that to happen, for you to grow in this direction, it typically means letting go of what is redundant and outgrown and obsolete and no longer relevant over here. And if you're not going to do that willingly, then guess what? The eclipses assist you to do that against your will. So it might be uncomfortable, but there is a purpose. It's about evolution. Okay? So I hope this helps you, Aquarius. I hope you got something out of that. Shouldn't be too painful for you. The Aquarius 9th house Sagittarian Libra vibes are harmonious. So maybe if these notes make sense, maybe you might get triggered to thinking like, wow, maybe I could write a book. Maybe I could be an instructor. Maybe I could be a teacher. Maybe I could be a counselor with clients and so on. Maybe I could be in media. Something to think about, okay, dear Aquarians? So anyway, if you want to really get deeper into that, you can come to Tarot Illumination. We'll pull up deep personal astrology and tarot, figure out what does this all mean for you personally. You can donate here. You can schedule and pay for your reading here as well. All that stuff. Connect personally, okay? So I hope it helps you. Make the best of this eclipse. It doesn't have to be scary. Make it fun, okay? I know you can do that. Aquarians like to have fun. Strange and wonderful creatures that you are. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.